On today's show, we are joined by an incredible entrepreneur, author, mom, and wife by the name of Jessica Zimmerman. And on today's show, she's going to teach you how to earn 7 figures working just 6 hours per day. And how to get off of your email so that you can become the proactive person you want to be instead of being reactive by default. On today's show, she breaks down the specific super moves that she used to build her successful small business into something that created both time and financial freedom for her and her family. Whoa. All this and more on today's edition of the ThriveTime Show on your radio and podcast download with our special guest, Jessica Zimmerman.
Get ready to enter the ThriveTime Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of 5, that's why I'm a dive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, you are in for a laser show as we enter into the dojo of mojo. Faux show. Jessica Zimmerman, welcome onto the ThriveTime Show. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. That is quite an intro you got there.
Well, listen here, lady. You went from working 16-hour days without earning a profit to generating 7 figures working 6 hours a day. Therefore, you need a big intro. My friend, where are you from? What great state are you from?
I am from the great state of Arkansas.
And
most people can't
Arkansas.
find it on a map, but we're right above Texas.
Arkansas. Okay, how close to Bentonville, Arkansas are you?
I'm about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from Bentonville.
Okay. Yeah, there's beautiful country out there, wonderful things to see in Arkansas. Now, what was your life like growing up, and where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Conway, Arkansas, which is where I still live today. I grew up, I was in a car accident when I was little, and I survived. My sister passed away, and my mom kind of put, she was a stay-at-home mom, and I know this now being a mom myself, but she kind of, put all of her energy into her one surviving child, as I could only imagine. And so I grew up to 2 very loving parents, but also kind of feeling a little bit, a little bit different than people around me. No one else really knew what it was like to have the weight and the pressure of being their parents' only surviving child, And so there was just a little bit of being misunderstood. And when I left to go to college, I saw how difficult that was on my mom. And so I told myself then and there that one day, if I decided to, get married and have children myself, that I would have a business of my own, almost as emotional insurance. So if something were to happen to my family, that I would have something outside of my family that was mine, and that was okay. And so that's what really kind of pointed me in the direction of entrepreneurship.
How old?
As twisted as it is, that's what it is.
No, this is interesting. How old was your sister when she unfortunately passed?
My sister was 8. She was 5 years older than me, and she was she was my world. She was the apple of my eye. She was everything. Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. So you
That's okay.
you took what was meant for maybe bad or negative, or maybe something that could have caused you to have bitterness, and you turned it into betterness. But along the way, this messy middle, you found yourself at some point working 16-hour days without earning a profit. And I'm not saying this to be condescending at all, because so many listeners have found themselves in the same spot. So I just want to make sure that you understand I'm not trying to trump up that fact or statistic or to try to mock you in any way or not. I'm just saying you were working 16 hours a day without earning a profit. What were you doing?
So I honestly think, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs go in with this same attitude. I went in with the best of intentions. I bought a business. It was a wedding rental business.
Yep.
And I went in with the best of intentions, and I was working so hard, and I believed, I heard things like, you just have to work your butt off for the first 5 years,
Oh
and you
yeah.
don't anything you make goes right back into the business. Like you don't even see a dime for the first 5 years. That's just part of owning your own business. And
Yeah.
I believed that, and I did things that I thought were smart. I immediately invested into like a new website and a new logo and a new sign, and just things that I probably didn't have the budget for.
Yeah.
And then things like I thought, well, if I do more of the work myself and don't hire it out, then I'm saving money,
Got
not
it.
really realizing that that's the worst thing you can do, because you're never ever catching up. You're just on a hamster wheel, just running and running and running in one place, never moving forward. And so it wasn't until after I had my daughter, and she was about 8 months old. My mom was keeping her, and I went to I reached out for her after a 16-hour workday, and my daughter didn't want me. Of course she didn't want me. She was, my mom took care of her most of the
Mm.
time. And I thought, this is the opposite of why you went into this business. You went into this business so that you could be a present mom. You could be just as present of a mom as your mom was for you, but you could still have this business. Now, at this time, I just kind of wanted this kind of side hobby business. I wasn't really caring about it being some capital B business or making a ton of money. I just wanted to make a little fun money, maybe enough money for us to go on a trip or something
Right.
once a year. But at this point, I'm working all the time and I'm not bringing home a dime. And so it's one thing if you're bringing home all this money and you can kind of justify it, right?
Right.
And you can say, well, I know I'm not that present, but look at how well I'm providing
Oh yeah. Look at all
financially.
that money. Look at all that money.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing either. So here I am not making a dime. And when I say
Oh.
not making a dime, I mean, I didn't bring home a penny. I
Can
didn't
I
bring home a penny.
can I ask you
And
this real quick? Can I ask this real quick,
yeah,
Jessica? I'm not at all trying to argue with you. I just want to make sure the listeners understand this idea.
sure.
You mentioned that you had to stop doing things that were a distraction to gain
Yes.
traction. Now,
Yes.
obviously, if you're out there and you sell online purses, or you probably needed a website. Obviously, if you're out there and you're a mechanic and you don't have a business card or a sign, you might need a logo. But you're saying you had to identify the things that were wasting your time, and some of those things were investing in things that weren't fruitful. What things, I mean, can you list off some of the things that you were doing that turned out in hindsight to be an epic waste of time? What kind of things were a distraction for you that were not helping you to gain traction?
Well, what I actually started doing is I one day I was sitting there because I had a retail store, right? I had a rental business, so people were coming into a brick and mortar to rent items from me. And one day I sat there at the desk and I realized I'm not actually able to do any of the work that needs to get done, like check emails or do the bookkeeping or any of that until 5 o'clock, right? Until the shop
Hmm.
closes. And so one day I sat there and every phone call that rang, I wrote down what they wanted. Every person that came in the door, I wrote down what they wanted. And at the end of that day, I realized just one person had come in to actually rent something. Everyone else had called to ask me directions or to ask to use my bathroom or to ask me about where's the great turkey club sandwich shop down the street, things like this. And I realized, wow, the business as it's running is a distraction. So if I could close this down and get everything kind of online and meet people by appointment only, I could really gain back control of this. And then
Yes.
I could meet people on my time.
Yes.
And then I could work, on the things that need to be done, like email and those kinds of things during, a 6-hour workday. And so that was a big, huge light bulb moment for me. And then once I started getting into just those 6 hours,
Yeah.
I became basically a master of efficiency. And so, things like most people like to have their email on all the time. I don't have email on my phone. I
Oh,
don't have
preach it.
email pulled up
Oh,
on my computer
yes.
except for 1 to 1:30. 1 to
Yes.
1:30 is when I check email.
You're my favorite guest. You're my favorite guest. No, seriously, we've interviewed Nir Eyal. He's a guru who wrote the book called Hooked. He wrote the new book called Indistractable. He talks about having specific times to turn your email on. We interviewed Dr. Laurie Santos, the Yale professor with the most popular class in the history of Yale, who talks about setting boundaries for your email. We've interviewed the clinical psychologist and best-selling author Daniel Goleman about this. We've interviewed Damon John from FUBU about this. We've interviewed John Maxwell about this. I've interviewed Wolfgang Puck about this. Everybody who is successful has the time to turn on the email. and a time to turn it off, a time to spend time with their kids, a time to not. Can you explain? I think for a lot of listeners that's hard to do, or maybe they think it's hard to do. How do you do it?
Well, I think first of all, you have to understand that you've got to I mean, people think that it's so important, right? That if you're not checking your email, then you're going to be you're going to lose business. The truth is that email is a reactive thing. It makes you reactive instead of proactive. The very most important thing that you need to do every day is you need to get your own work done first. I'm not saying that what's on that email isn't important and that you don't need to get to it. You do, but you need to get what you need to get done first. Then, take a lunch break and then come back refreshed. Spend 30 minutes and really quickly, if you can answer that email in 2 minutes or less, answer it and get it out of your inbox. If it's going to take a little bit longer, leave it in there and then schedule time for you to come back and do it. If you can outsource any of this to anyone else, I have someone who handles a lot of our kind of bulk email for me, then you need to do that because you need to be utilizing your strengths. For me, I'm the face and the voice of my business. That's never going to change. And I need to focus on that. And someone else who's actually quite better at handling email handles a big bulk of it. However, I still get a lot of emails. And so I'm not saying that I don't, but I definitely have a specific time every day that I look at that. Therefore, I'm focused on it and I can handle it. And then when it's, when I've done it for 30 minutes, I shut it off and I go and I continue to do what else it is that I need to do. But the other thing is just shutting off work too. I come from a family of farmers, and my dad once said to me, there's a reason why the sun comes up and it goes down, because we weren't meant to work all day long or all of our waking hours, right? Farmers don't go to bed at night, with a cow in the bed with them, continuing to work, continuing to milk the cow like we do with our laptops quite often. And so that made so much sense to me. And so for me, I work between the hours of 9 and 3. And at 3 o'clock, I close my computer and I do not reopen it until 9 a.m. the next day. So at 3 o'clock, I get to take my work hat off and put my mom hat on, and I get to focus on my kids. My kids know I work, but I kind of have to remind them of that sometimes, because when they're at home, I'm with them.
Powerful.
And so I definitely think when you are able to really establish those work hours and really genuinely stick to them, it makes you more efficient during those work hours, which is going to help profit your business and scale your business and grow it. But also it allows you this life outside of work. And that is really when those good ideas are going to come to you. So you do need that. You need it.
Can you explain to the listeners, what does your business do? Like, what is your web address, and what does your business actually do? What kind of products or services do you offer?
So I like to say that I'm a professional oversharer. I'm sure that there's like a legit word for what I am, but I'm a pretty much a multi-hyphenate. I have pivoted quite a bit, and I started out doing wedding rentals, and then I did floral design, and then I incorporated wedding planning. And in 2018, I did my last wedding. In 2017, I kind of had this idea, and I had never taken an online course. I didn't even know those existed. I just kind of had this idea of wanting to utilize the low season, kind of like travel people do, like hotels. They're like, we're gonna do this in the low season, and we're gonna charge this much in the high season. I kind of thought, well, how can I utilize my low season? And at that point, I had because I had learned how to build the foundation of my business, I had booked 6-figure wedding clients, which most people think you're not going to be able to do that unless you live in a big city. I live in a small town in Arkansas, and I'm booking 6-figure wedding clients. And people started asking me, how are you doing this? And I'd taken a few consulting calls, and I noticed everyone had the same questions. And I just thought, what if I just shared it all? And so I wrote it all out in basically a PDF. We had it as like a locked PDF, and we called it The Business Behind the Blooms. And I sold it. I didn't even have a newsletter list at the time. I sold it, strictly through Instagram. I think I had 300 followers, and I sold 44 copies. And after that, I started getting testimonies back of people, of their businesses changing.
Cool.
And I thought, okay. And so that kind of helped pivot into that. And I became super vulnerable with my business and sharing my business and sharing really the lows, sharing the fact that almost went bankrupt, that I had to get $100,000 loan in order to turn my business around. I mean, I really kind of shared everything.
Yeah.
And I believe that all prepared me for what I'm doing now, which is my book, Sleeping with a Stranger, just came out, which is about me being, it's very vulnerable on a more personal level. It's what was going on behind the scenes when I was building this 7-figure empire. And I think that it's something that I'm excited for it to come out, even though I'm scared to death. I'm excited for people to read it because I think that so many women, especially, they just see this highlight reel of, yes, you can be a mom and a business owner and you can
Yeah.
have 7 figures and bucket loads of money and travel the world, but they're really not seeing what's going on behind closed doors. And that's what I'm to share.
I'm going to be vulnerable with you, and I don't even know you really, but I'm gonna put it out there.
Okay.
My wife, my wife and I, we have 5 kids, and my first business I started was called DJ Connection, and it was the nation's largest wedding entertainment company at the time I sold it, or one of the top 2. We did about 4,000 weddings a year, and you're in the wedding industry, so you get it. It was big, and I remember I received the Entrepreneur of the Year award for the Small Business Administration. They give one for the top entrepreneur in the state. And we're in a limo going to receive our award, and my wife looks over at me and she says, after you get the award, could you schedule time to see your own kids? And then she gives me the evil eye, the true eye, the mom eye that says, you.
Oh, I know
And there's not even a word it's more of just the eye. And I felt
we're just born with that. Once we have our first kid, it just comes to us. We know how to give that. Yeah.
And I felt bad. And so I've never struggled with making the money, selling things, growing a business. That part's never been hard for me, but I had to learn the skill of, being a dad, blocking out time for dad. Is this common for you with the clients you work with? Is this common where the people who are really good at earning money struggle to block out time for life outside of work? Is this normal?
Yeah, well, I think what's normal is that work in our work life, we feel validated.
Yeah.
So we want to spend more time where we feel validated, and it's easier to spend more time there. And I think sometimes being a parent, we or even just a wife or a husband or whatever, there's question marks, and it's harder, and it takes more thought and more effort. And so, I mean, like for me, I love my kids so much. I hate playing blocks on the floor. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to play with Legos anymore. It's just, I really have to, psych myself up for that. I love reading to them.
Yeah.
I love going on adventures with them and teaching them other things, but they want to play. I have 4-year-old twin boys who just want to play with Legos on the floor all day. And I'm like, I want to beat my head against the wall. But, so that doesn't come as naturally.
Got it.
It's way more natural for me to be up here talking to you about business.
Yeah.
So I think also we have to take, for women, the shame off of that, right? As a man, you can say that and no one really says anything. But as a woman, to say, hey, sometimes I enjoy my work a little more than my kids, we're going to get, just
You're going to get booed. You're going to get booed. You're going to have people booing. That's what's going to happen right there.
That's a script that was given to us when we were born. And that's one thing that I really talk about a lot in my new book, Sleeping with a Stranger, is that my first book ever, Sleeping with a Stranger, but is that we were given this script, but it's time for us to rewrite it and to quit feeling shame about how we really feel.
Let's say this. Let's say, it's some people around the country are suffering through this quarantine. Some states are more open than others. President Trump is talking about wanting to be open on the 1st of May. Some governors think they should do it, and some governors think you should be able to have your First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. Some say you shouldn't. If we take the politics out of it, some people have some time on their hands right now. And so people are thinking, they're looking for a way to work on their business or to maybe reflect, maybe to self-improve during this time of self-quarantine. Why should everybody pick up your book here? Because you know what I mean? There's so many books people could buy right now. Why should somebody pick up a copy of Sleeping with a Stranger?
I just think, it's interesting. I think it's so raw and vulnerable, and it is so, I mean, I don't think I've personally ever read anything this this raw.
Give
you
me
know, where it's
something
like,
raw. Give me some in the
wow.
book where you say, don't give me all the book, but you know what I mean? Just enough of the book where I can get my beak wet. You know what I mean? I can put my feet in the
Well,
water a little bit.
I talk about, what is your sex life like,
Oh, no.
with your spouse when you've got, 3 young kids and you're running a business and my husband had gotten ill. Like, what happens there? And
Mm.
how do you start to remain in this marriage when you're growing at different rates, when you're changing into different people? Do you stay in this marriage because you want your kids to have this, this ideal family, but would you want that for your children, the relationship you have now?
Mm.
So you kind of have to learn, we've grown into two different people. What do we learn to, for me, I was really resentful of my husband for who I had become, because I had to make my business a capital B business because he got really ill. And and the book's all about this, but he was in and out of the hospital. He was a financial advisor who totally took care of us for 11 years, and he lost his job. And I had to turn my business around practically overnight. And I built this 7-figure empire, but I became really resentful of him because I felt like with everything that went on, I was kind of forced to become this person. And then it's a grappling of, am I resentful of him, or am I trying to figure out who I was always meant to be? And
You-
he's just the easiest person to kind of be upset with. It's an interesting read. It really is.
You have come on to this show, and there's so much you could share with the listeners as it relates to growing a business as a mom, growing a business as a wife. But I have one final question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
If you could share with the listeners how you organize the first 4 hours of your day as a mom and as a business owner, how do you do that? Like what time do you wake up every day, and how do you organize the first 4 hours of every day?
So the very first thing, the most important thing that I do every day is I take care of me. And this is also a big part of sleeping with a stranger and something that I had to really learn. But I wake up about 5 o'clock, 5:30, because I need time. I know me. I always say, know thyself, know thyself. I know that I need time, just me. And so I like to get up and I like to have my own breakfast, and I like to do the 3 things that are the most crucial thing that I have to do before I can handle or talk to anyone else. And that is, I have some time by myself. I do a devotional. I run and I meditate. And for me, I believe that my mind, my body, and my spirit are all connected. And if I take the first part of the day to kind of tune in to all 3 of those parts of me, then I am so filled up. I am so able to go and be the best mom to my kids, the best wife to my husband, the best business owner and leader for my team. I'm able to do that. And if I skip out on any of those areas, I find that my day is off kilter. It's a little rocky and bumpy. And so many women can look at that and they think that that's selfish. And that self-care is selfish. And I am here to say that it is the most selfless thing that you can do, because you want to be able to give the best of you. And for me, the only way that I'm my best self is if I kind of tune into all 3 of those areas every day.
Okay, I have one more sneaky question I'm going to ask. This will be a tough one.
Okay.
Go back to high school mentally. Maybe it's middle school, high school. Did you have your school dances in a gym, or were they in a cafeteria?
They were both.
Both.
Towards the later years, they were in the cafeteria. Yeah.
And what was your favorite jam? Like, what was your favorite old school jam where the DJ hit the song, hit play, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, and you went out there? What was that song?
I loved. Let's see. It was Puff Daddy back in the day.
Yes.
Every Step I Take.
Really?
Love that. Yeah. Love that.
Did you also like Mo Money, Mo Problems? Did you like that?
Yeah, Mo Money, Mo Problems. Love that song.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Let me cue it up here for you. I dedicate this song to anybody out there right now who has a new book coming out. Anybody out there that wrote a new book called Sleeping with a Stranger here. If you're an author out there, you've written a new book called Sleeping with a Stranger, perhaps your last name is Zimmerman, perhaps your first name is Jessica, this song goes out to you. Unbelievable. I'm glad we got a little P. Diddy action going on here on this interview. What interview could be complete without a little P. Diddy?
I don't know of one. This is perfect.
Well, Miss Arkansas, you are a great American, and I really do appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, take care and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
We are on the precipice of ending today's show with a boom, but before we do end the show with a boom, I want to make sure that you know all of the free great stuff we have available for you. After the boom, you're going to hear about ThriveTimeShow.com/free resources. And I'm telling you, we have a treasure trove of practical tools and super moves that you can use to grow your business or organization. Check it out. It's ThriveTimeShow.com/free resources from the root word free. And now without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom! What if you could gain access to download each and every book that I've ever written for free?
Well, that'd be terrible, because I don't like you.
Okay, we're making a big assumption here. But assuming that you do like me and you like the Thrive Time Show, you can now go to ThriveTimeShow.com/free-resources. That's ThriveTimeShow.com/free-resources to download each and every book that I've ever written for free. You can download the ebook version of each and every book that I've ever written for free.
Clay, I just want to chime in here real quick. I don't like you or capitalism. I feel like we should all get free stuff.
Well, I am in the process of explaining where you can get free stuff. And you can now also download all of the helpful infographics. There's infographics on Firing 101, the perfect hiring system, the principles from Ray Dalio, Internet Marketing 101, the Lead Bin Management System, Managing Humans 101, Logo Creation 101, Why Google Loves WordPress, Time Management 101. We also have an incredible infographic about the importance of calling your leads often, because the average person no longer answers their phone unless they are called multiple times and unless they receive a text from you. We also have the importance of File Nomenclature 101, Sales Lead Conversion 101, and much, much more. And it's all available for you to download for free right now by going to ThriveTimeShow.com.
Are you suggesting that I should have to move my body?
Yes.
This is for free. Isn't there a way you could just beam it? I mean, why do I have to move my body?
Because
typing causes me anxiety.
Whatever.
Which is why I would never go to ThriveTimeShow.com.
Come on.
/free-resources. I would never go to ThriveTimeShow.com. /free-resources.
All right, let me clarify. If you have the capacity to move your fingers, go to ThriveTimeShow.com /free-resources to download an ebook version of every single Amazon best-selling book I've ever written and all the infographics that have the power to change your life.